So why do I always wear a watch? I've had a couple people comment that they think it's cool that I wear a Casio F91W. It's cool that there's such fanfare for these watches. I kind of consider them like the ThinkPads of watches, in the sense that they're old school, or at least old school looking, very durable, and they last a long time. Also simple to use. They don't have a lot of extra nonsense and clutter. They just work. Kind of like a Lexus. You know, the Lexus is like the ThinkPad of cars, but significantly less affordable than a ThinkPad, at least for the newer ones. The older ones you can get pretty affordably and they still work. Anyway, why do I always wear a watch? Well, I like to be on time for things. I don't just like to be on time for things. I like to be early for things. With pretty much every job I've ever had, I would arrive like 15 minutes early, sometimes earlier. Like with the last job I had, for example, I would arrive about half an hour early, partially because of the way that my bus route worked, but I would arrive like that, like even when driving. And the reason I did this was so that I could open up all the supply closets for my fellow workers, and so I could help the front desk organize the schedule for all of us, and do odd things around the hotel that they needed help with. I enjoyed doing this. I also, didn't really have a lot going on back then, so I was willing to do this without even being asked. But I wanted to be on time nonetheless. Even if I wasn't that early, I wanted to be at least a little bit early to ensure that I was on time. And like, even when I don't have appointments or things that I need to get to, I like to know what time it is so that I can stop doing something in preparation to do something else, or so that I can know how much time has passed, before I move on to the next thing. If I can organize my day in this manner, I can keep myself aware of all the different things on my list of things to do for that day. So I'm always looking at my watch as to keep these things in mind. I also like being mindful of other people's time. So it's not uncommon for me to check my watch as I'm on a voice call with someone, for example, especially if I'm aware of their schedule and routine, because I have a really good memory. I remember a lot of the details that people share with me, even details from like years ago. And if I'm talking to you, you are going to be at the front of my mind throughout that conversation. So if there's something that I'm aware is going on with you, something that, maybe you like to do, maybe you'd prefer to do, maybe you have an appointment, or maybe you have something that, is relevant to you, I might bring that up just from looking at my clock. There's been so many times when I've reminded people, what the fuck just got in my eye, man? Something got in my eye. But this is constantly happening to me. I have such sensitive eyes. I might literally just have to stop the video to go deal with that, because it's like actually burning. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go deal with that. Jesus Christ, that hurts. Yeah, that was annoying going through that. I had to wash out my eye in order to come back here and talk to you. I don't know why, but like stuff is always just like falling into my eye, or like my eye is suddenly burning. I mean, I know having this light flashing directly in my face to illuminate me to record this video is not helping. I've got two lights on as well in here to make the image more clear, but anyway, I'm back. So I will remind people of their bedtime when I'm VCing with them. We'll be on VC, and I'll take a look at my watch and I'll notice, like, hey, like you said, you wanted to get some better sleep, or you normally go to bed around this time, and they'll, normally they'll go to bed, or if they have like a different thing they want to do, they'll be like, no, I want to stay up. And it feels good kind of looking after stuff like that, because I generally don't forget this stuff about my own routine and my own life. I keep all of this also in the front of my mind, but I know a lot of other people struggle with doing that. They get carried away, or maybe they can't organize things as well. And I just like to remind them sometimes of these more basic things that they have to do, because if I had that problem, I would want someone like that, around. I'd want somebody to help me in that way. Some people, I haven't encountered this personally, but some people might find that infantilizing, so you shouldn't do it in that situation. But actually, I'm not saying anybody should do what I'm doing here. I'm more so saying that it's something I like to do, and it's a product of this thing. It's a product of this thing. I'm always thinking about time. I'm always thinking about organization, and I love time. I love organization, and I love schedules. I love routines. I love, being able to segment the day in a way that maximizes the efficiency of each aspect of that day. A very, I don't know, German or Dutch approach to thinking about things. Some people might find it stressful, but I find it very comforting. I find having plans very comforting. Having schedules very comforting. Some people have referred to me as punctual as a result of that. And, maybe there's truth to that, but this wasn't a way that I always thought about things. I always had a lot of information that I was grappling with, things that I was remembering and trying to, keep in mind. But before I got this watch, I wasn't really looking at my days in this manner. But as soon as I had that thing on my wrist, it's like my whole life changed, God damn it, this thing. There we go. It was like my whole life changed. And I'm really thankful for this watch because of that. There's little things that I've done, like turning the clock back 5 minutes to give myself 5 extra minutes before doing certain things, just to make sure that I'm early. There's little schemes that I've used the watch, that I've done with the watch, but in general I try to keep it, the same way. I got a new book. Actually, I can show you guys this. And show you guys this in this video. I got a new book that I've been studying out of from the Teach Yourself series. This is Complete Serbian. There's lots of detailed grammar explanations, dialogues, an explanation of the alphabet, which you should absolutely learn the alphabet of whatever language you're learning. Don't just learn, phrases and some words. You're not going to pronounce them correctly if you don't know the alphabet. And thankfully, the alphabet in this language is transparent, so that means that the words sound exactly as they're spelled, unlike in English or French or one of these other languages that is not as logical. And so far, I am having a lot of fun with this book. I'm getting a great kick out of it, great bang for the buck. Highly, highly recommend the Serbian language. Now, I had been learning it using Anki and listening and reading on a platform like Link, and just watching YouTube videos and things like this. But it's very good to have a textbook guide for learning the language. Now, once again, I'm not spending the majority of my time on it. I'm only spending about an hour a day, and you know that I'm paying attention to that. But the rest of my time just gets spent on Spanish, because Spanish is the one that my heart is really, really set on, that I absolutely adore and love and want to be as proficient as possible in. Of course, I would like to be proficient in Serbian as well. I think I'm working towards that goal, but at a slower rate as of now. When I get better at Spanish, I can pick this one up in a bigger way. But one of the nice things about studying this, outside of this book, this book is in English, but when I'm using my Anki cards, and when I'm using some other resources for learning the language, I'm actually learning Serbian in Spanish. Because on the front of the card, it'll have the Spanish word, on the back, it'll have the Serbian word, or on the front, it'll have a Spanish sentence, and then the same sentence in Serbian on my Anki deck. And this is giving me an opportunity to actually think in Spanish as I'm learning Serbian, thereby strengthening my language number 2 and my language number 3 at the same time. It's all about thinking in that language and not doing translation anymore. So that is really good. Now, I haven't forgotten about Tagalog, as I've talked about in other videos, but I am learning Tagalog in a very limited way. That one is basically just for fun, and I'm not as of now, all that serious about, being able to communicate beyond a basic level in it. So I am putting that on the back burner aside from sporadic study sessions and conversations with my friend and tutor in that language. Of course, I do intend to become fluent in Tagalog eventually, but I would rather focus on these two languages primarily, with Spanish taking the majority of my time. As of now, I haven't reached advanced in Spanish yet, but when I do, I can put more time in Serbian, I can put more time in Tagalog, and also eventually Portuguese. So that's kind of how my routine is looking right now. Having a lot of fun with the languages, but I structure and organize my days around learning these languages, and that's a big part of where the watch comes in. So, in conclusion, I like time, I like to organize things, and I like you, whoever you may be. I appreciate the fact that you've watched my video. I have some other topics coming down the pike that I would love for you to listen to as well. I hope you're having a good day.